Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for coming, and thanks so much for having me here today. So I'd love to get to know who's in the audience here. So how many here are Stanford students, current students? Great. And Stanford affiliated, alumni, others? All right. Berkeley. Awesome. Welcome, Berkeley. Other schools here. Do we have other schools represented? Excellent. Great. Well, welcome to all of you. I think it's such an amazing opportunity that you have here to come together and hear from speakers and learn, and most importantly, just connect with each other and get inspired. So I'm Singari Seshadri. I run an entrepreneurship hub at Stanford called the Stanford Venture Studio. We're essentially a resource collective and a suite of resources for graduate students who are exploring startup ideas. Our mission and philosophy at Stanford really is about teaching students the skills and frameworks and giving them the mindset to be entrepreneurial in any setting. That might be to go off and start a business or found a business, which I'm sure many of you are hoping to do or are doing already, or to work at a startup, or to pursue the search fund model, or to be innovative in a large corporation, or even in the government, which is, I think, probably what we need the most of right now. At the Venture Studio, we have several successful startups that have come out of the Venture Studio. I'm sure you've heard many of them, but that's not our primary objective. Our primary objective is really to give students a safe space to explore and experiment with entrepreneurship and to try it out for size. It is for some people and it's not for some people. We want to give them a space where they can apply what they've learned in the classroom. We teach many frameworks and processes that one can follow to validate a business idea. So we want to give them the resources and the support to do that. Some of them launch and go off and be successful, and others don't. But we really want to have everybody be able to experience that and learn from that experience, including the pivots and the failures, which we think is really, really important. The way we operate is we give people access to co-working space, to mentorship, to advisors, lots of free resources, and most importantly, community, because we feel like people can learn a lot from their peers, which I would encourage you to do today while you're here. So some of you might have heard of a professor at Stanford named Tina Seelig. Tina is a professor at the School of Engineering, teaches a couple of different classes. If you haven't heard her name or read her book or heard her speak, I would highly encourage you to do that. If there's one gift I can give to you today, it's the name Tina Seelig. Go to tinaseelig.com. I'm a huge fan, as you can tell. She talks about luck. I think there's a lot of people who think that you have to be lucky to accomplish something, or you have to be lucky to have your startup be successful. Well, Tina frames luck in a slightly different way. She is not a believer who believes that some people have luck and some people don't. She's all about creating luck for yourself. And she has this analogy to the wind. And the wind blows gently sometimes, and it's barely noticeable, but it's still there. And sometimes it's a windstorm. And her advice, which I won't go into a lot of detail on today because you can go read her book or watch her TED Talk or podcast. Her advice is for us all to build sails to catch that wind. And sometimes you will, and sometimes you won't, but you try. But it's around us, and we can all capture it, and if we keep trying, but always have your sails up. So I wanted to encourage you all to fly your sails today and catch the winds that are blowing at this conference, and wanted to give you 3 actions that you can take, both starting today while you're here and tomorrow if you're going to be at the conference tomorrow as well, but also thereafter. The first is to build relationships. I would encourage you all to make at least 3 connections between today and tomorrow of people you don't know, somebody that you've never met before. And then introduce one person to somebody else that can benefit from that connection. So one connection that you make, share that connection. If you help somebody today, you are more than likely to get help when you need it somewhere down the line. Paying it forward is a really, really great thing. Meaningful relationships is what's going to help you accomplish whatever it is you're going to accomplish, whether that's your startup or something else. The second thing is to take a risk that puts you outside of your comfort zone. Do something that you've been thinking about that you've held yourself back from. If you're shy and introverted, try talking to somebody new. If you've been percolating on a startup idea and you're just not sure if it's a good idea or not, share it with somebody, see what feedback you get. Or just go try prototyping it or experimenting with it. After today, sign up for a class in a topic that you know nothing about and that you don't think you'll be good at. But sign up for the class. No, take a risk. Send a cold email to somebody that you admire and that you'd love to have a coffee chat with. Ask for an informational interview at a company that you really want to go work at. Take that risk. We, more often than not, hold ourselves back, and taking that risk is the first step. And then the last thing is to just keep at it. Entrepreneurship is a lot about perseverance. It's a lot of failure, but you got to just keep at it. I will say that entrepreneurship is not for everyone, but everyone should give it a try. It may be more daunting to take that first step for some versus others, especially if you come from a background where there are not as many people like you who've taken the entrepreneurship path or who are in the entrepreneurship space. We all know that there are underrepresented groups in entrepreneurship, but everybody can give it a try. And so I encourage each and every one of you, no matter what discipline you're from, what background you're from, what your idea might be, or what your passions are, to give it a go. Take a class, join somebody else's team, find a mentor, find founders who are like you that will talk to you. Founders are more than happy to share their knowledge and be an inspiration and be a mentor to somebody. So take advantage of the community that you have. You won't regret it, and it doesn't matter if you fail. In fact, I would argue that it's the single greatest learning experience that you will have if you give it a try. And frankly, in my opinion, I think if you fail, you will learn a whole lot more than if you succeed. So I will close with, give it a try, and I'm happy to take questions. But thank you again for having me here.
Hi, sorry. So you say send like a cold email to someone you really admire, but don't you? Is it weird to do that? I don't know, because I'm not from here. So like in LinkedIn, if you do that, is it weird or like?
Some people might think it's weird. I'm not going to guarantee that you'll get a response. It's always better to have a warm introduction. So if you can find a connection, the probability that you'll get a response is much higher. And if the person on the other side thinks it's weird, you're not going to hear back. So find someone else to admire then.
Thank you.
Yeah, what have you done that you have taken the risk and has taken you out of your comfort zone?
Yeah. So I was, my background is predominantly in venture capital. I came here, I grew up in India, came to grad school here in the US, moved from Bangalore, India, some of you might know it, to Madison, Wisconsin. So I would say that was my first risk. So I worked in venture after that for about 15 years, and on a whim, quit my venture capital job, which was definitely a risk. There are days when I think it was a really dumb risk, and there's days when I think it's a really smart risk. But I wanted to launch my own business, and I was passionate at the time about women entrepreneurs, and I really just wanted to go do something. So I quit my job, I started an incubator for women entrepreneurs around my dining table in my home. Ran it for about 4 years. It completely pivoted to something else, spun it out. And so that, I think, was my biggest risk. I don't regret it for a moment. I learned a lot. It ended up in a place that I had not envisioned. So the path took me in a completely different direction. And for a long time, I used to look at my career trajectory, which is very much of a zigzag and never has gone in the way that I predicted or was planning to go. So I was always trying to go this way, and it would take me this way. And I would always look back and go, like, that doesn't seem right. Like, this career path should be like that. But I feel like the zigzags of what have taught me the most. So life's unpredictable. I am trying to live more by Tina's philosophy, which is having my sails up and being opportunistic. But you can't really jump at those opportunities unless you take those risks and you take those pivots and take the road less taken. So. Yeah. Over there and then over there. Either one is fine.
Thank you. It appears like Stanford Venture Studio is primarily for students. Would you recommend anything similar for folks outside of school?
Yeah. So Stanford Venture Studio is a student program. There are many accelerator programs outside of the university setting. So I'm sorry, which school are you affiliated with?
I went to West Virginia University.
Okay. Here locally, there are many accelerator program and entrepreneurship programs, both online and offline, that have no school affiliation whatsoever. I think you're going to hear from Michael from Y Combinator later on. I think they're probably one of the premier ones. They have Startup School, which is for very early stage entrepreneurs, and then as you move along, you can actually do their accelerator program. Stanford has also recently launched an online entrepreneurship program called Embark, which anybody can do. So I'd encourage you to check that out. It's embark.stanford.edu. But both the schools, actually, both Stanford and Berkeley, offer other programs and opportunities for people that are not currently matriculated students. So encourage you to check out the school websites.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think back there and then over there. My email address, Singari@stanford.edu. What's that? Yeah, you can look it up. It's on the Stanford website. If can't promise I'll get back to everybody if I get a barrage of emails, but I'll definitely try. Cold emails are fine. This is a warm intro. There.
Hi, thanks for being here today, and thanks for sharing your thoughts and ideas.
You're welcome.
So I have a quick question. So I'm a huge supporter for female entrepreneurship as well, but I feel like, especially for young females, I'm sure a lot of people here feel the same. Like when you're in the room full of people, I'm sure it's a topic has been discussed so many times. Like women, it's always kind of afraid to speak up and kind of like to express yourself or be the opinion leader or the leader in general. Have you ever encountered this type of fear or sort of this type of thing, and how did you overcome it if you had?
Yeah. So both the venture capital firms that I worked for, including the one right out of grad school and then the one after that, I was the only woman in the entire firm. And I have to say that for me, it was the men that I worked with that helped me gain that confidence, because I felt incredible pressure to have to keep up. And especially with the second one, after I had my child and everything, it was even harder. But so that pressure, I think, just pushed me to take the risks that I had to take to sort of stay, keep my head above water and keep treading water, I guess. So I would say, the answer to that is you got to sort of push yourself outside of that comfort zone just a little bit to try it. And then the first time you do it, it will feel incredibly daunting and uncomfortable, but then you get comfortable. I would also say put yourself in environments where the people around you are giving you the opportunity to be yourself and speak up. So if you find yourself in an environment that's not supportive, get out. There's plenty of good environments and supportive people and people who care about diversity and don't see a difference between men and women. So those are the environments that you should be in. And for the men and the women in the room, I would say just be thoughtful about who you're with. It's not just about gender, but be inclusive of the people that are around you, especially people with personalities where it is difficult for them to speak up. If you're in a meeting, recognize that there are other people in the room that may not be comfortable speaking up first, so give others an opportunity. Even today, during the networking sessions, if you see somebody standing by themselves on their phone, it may not be because they want to be on their phone, it's maybe because it's too difficult for them to walk up and talk to somebody. Walk up and talk to somebody who's standing by themselves. Make that effort. It goes a really, really long way. It may not show it with me standing up here, but I am an introvert, and public speaking was and still is one of my biggest fears. But practice and putting myself out there is what got me here. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Don't know. Do we still have time? Okay, one more question.
Singari, thank you very much for sharing your insights.
No problem.
My name is Galina, and my question for you is, what is your advice to those people who are looking to pivot in their career, and they're looking to find where to pivot to? How do we find the passion to follow?
Yeah, it's a great question. One book and resource I would recommend, actually to all of you, it's really great no matter what stage you're at, is Designing Your Life. It's written by two people who teach a course at Stanford. So it's really taking the design thinking approach and applying it to your life. But it gives you frameworks and processes that you can follow to really sort of discover what your life should be, but also what type of work energizes you and engages you. So not kind of sort of defaulting to I've been doing this for this many years and I should just do the same thing. So that's one way to think about it. And I would really focus on, again, things that you're passionate about, things that energize you, things that make you feel good, plus, things that you're good at and looking at where those can be applied. And a great way to do that is to talk to people who are maybe doing jobs or work that you think, hey, that sounds like fun. There might be another side of that job that you don't know about. Like, people always look at my job and go, oh, that's super fun. And don't get me wrong, it's super fun working with student entrepreneurs. But it's also not that much fun working for a large university. It's very, very bureaucratic and slow. So there's good sides and bad sides. Hopefully this won't go back to the dean of Stanford. But so talk to people. And that's what the book really talks about, prototyping careers, which is discovering different opportunities for yourself. But never too late to pivot.
Thank you.
Hi, can I ask?
One truly last one.
Hi, Singari here. Yeah.
Oh,
So
sorry.
in terms of women entrepreneurship, do you ever suggest people, especially women, to consider their timing? How many years do you have to be in the industry to gain resources, or just or people, know more people and then start a business, or even planning for marriage and having kids and stuff like that? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I think there's never a wrong time for entrepreneurship. I don't think you should hold yourself back because you want to get married or have kids. There's certainly no correlation between the two. Is one, does it add a layer of complexity that you need to account for? Maybe. But I don't see any men really questioning when they should start a business based on marriage or kids. So I don't think there's no reason that women should do it either. So I think it's really thinking about, again, your life trajectory, and is this the right time from all the different risks you're going to have to take when you pursue an entrepreneurial path. And also, like I said before, there's lots of ways to be entrepreneurial. Founding a company is not the only one. You can go work at a startup. You can be innovative in a lot of different ways. So it might be that you do some of those things first and then start businesses. There are men and women starting businesses, as you all know, in their teens, and then all the way up to past 60. So I don't know that there's an age for entrepreneurship, but you have to figure out if it's right for you and if it's the right time for you, given all the other considerations. Thank you so much for having me. Enjoy the conference.